Hi guys. You can see the title, you may be going, girl, it's not even out yet. I know, I am so freaking lucky that today I have the opportunity to go see MaXXXine ahead of time for a special secret screening, and I honestly cannot contain my excitement. As some of you know, X was one of my favorite films from that year of release, from 2022, and I'm so excited to finally see MaXXXine's story continue. I'm gonna just talk about X quickly, so spoilers if you haven't seen X by now, but this is a continuation of X, so surely you should be watching it before you watch MaXXXine. So X takes place in 1979, where we follow a group of adult filmmakers working on a set in rural Texas when the film turns from a smut, their words, film to a splatter fest. And at the end of it, MaXXXine drives away. What is her future? And this film takes place now in the 80s in Hollywood. We follow MaXXXine in this crime horror as an adult film star aspiring to become an actress, and she finally gets her big break, but a mysterious killer begins to stalk the starlets of Hollywood. The movie has an incredible cast, of course, starting with Mia Goth. It also has Halsey, Lily Collins, Kevin Bacon, Giancarlo Esposito. Honestly, the list goes on and on. I am just excited to see MaXXXine back. We took a detour and we looked at the backstory of Pearl from X, and I've been wondering this whole time where MaXXXine was really headed. I'm reluctant to call this the end of a trilogy because in an interview, Ty West said that he does have an idea for an additional film, a fourth film, but he wants to see the reception of this film to see if it's worth making. I have not watched the trailer, but I have heard that this has very Giallo vibes, so I'm very keen to see another twist on Ty West's experience of the X universe, of the MaXXXine universe, of the Pearl universe. Let's go find out if MaXXXine is truly worth all of the hype and all of the waiting that we have done. We have waited a long time for this film, and I can't believe I am gonna go see it right now. I'm actually gonna walk to the cinema, so why don't you guys come with me? Oh my god. Hi, I just got back from watching MaXXXine. I'm doing this here in my office because I can't really do it on the street. It's too loud, it's too windy, too many people. This is gonna stay spoiler free, but what I really wanna say, you should 100% rewatch X before seeing this film. Although it takes place 5-6 years after X, it is a direct sequel of events. So you really want to make sure you have it fresh in your mind, and I benefited greatly from watching it last night before watching it today. I wanna say, first up, I did not enjoy this movie as much as I enjoyed X and Pearl. X I gave a like 9.5 out of 10. So I thought it would be really hard to measure up. But what all of these films have in this current trilogy is different stylizations, and I shouldn't be shocked because Pearl was such a different stylization and really took us back to classic film. This film is focused on 80s Hollywood, and it replicates that in every facet, from the way it's set up to the sprawling characters and to the format. Really, it was more of a crime drama with horror gore sprinkled in than a horror movie. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I don't like pigeonholing films, but I think that that was totally different to what I expected. I did watch the trailer afterwards when I was walking home, and I do feel like the trailer gave away a lot, but it is very much a replica or a love letter to fans of MaXXXine, you know, the person MaXXXine from X. It's definitely fan service that is transferred from the original to this sequel, but it also is fan service to people who love crime dramas from the 80s. And more so, it doesn't exactly replicate what horror movies were in the 80s, which is what I thought it was gonna be, because it is centralized within Hollywood. It is more about that scene, and that's why it feels more like a crime drama and those films from that time. I would say the most similar film in terms of like stylization kind of would be Savage Streets. That kind of has the same feel where there's some really intense, disturbing moments in it, but it is more focused on the crime drama. But this film does have a mystery edge, and that I think is where people got the giallo idea from. I don't feel like this film is very giallo at all, and I was kind of saddened by that, but that's my own, my own taste. I would kind of prefer that over the Hollywood style, but the only giallo part is kind of the mystery element, someone being in disguise. I would say it's even more of like it's not, but even more of a film noir kind of crime, because it has detectives, police, and is very heavy on trying to find out the answer to an investigation. It's more so replicating the idea of what 80s Hollywood is than really putting us in an 80s horror movie. But it does have a really cool stylization in terms of the lighting, the fog, the smoke, the practical effects. The gore is so surprising and so fun in this film. I do feel like even though it's extreme gore at points, there's some really fun surprises you guys are gonna love, and I can just hear you guys are gonna talk about this so much, one of these gore scenes, but I don't feel like there was a lot of gore. I know that sounds desensitized, but I feel like it was really in slight segments and quite far apart, and I was hoping for more, especially for a climax of like a crime drama horror movie. The film follows MaXXXine once again, who's trying to get a part in this film while working in Hollywood, and she's trying to get a part on a sequel for a movie that has like really plays into the idea of satanic panic, and the film is kind of centered around the killings going on within Hollywood, or people, getting up in arms about satanic panic. And so I was really interested in that part of the story, and especially the idea of the sequel, which they kind of make a little commentary on, but I feel like this film isn't as focused as I was expecting. This is what happens sometimes when you don't write a trilogy together. Instead, this film was written separately to the first film, and X is just such a great metaphor for how people think of horror. And Pearl was a character study, where this one just is a crime drama. So it's more about having a lot of characters, and there are a lot of characters. I feel like the first act of the film is just setting up all of these different characters, and more so going on like a mystery. It's really kind of nostalgic installment, one that people will enjoy if they like those crime movies from the 80s. But I didn't feel like it had much concentration on a point or idea. It's more so thrown together with these characters that we already love to give an extension to the story we know them from. So for that, I felt like the film kind of wavered at points where I'm like, where is this going? But not in a fun way where I was confused. It just kept opening up more characters and building on that instead of really getting into the fun, scary elements. And I just wasn't that scared by this film. It felt like it was asking you to follow a very convoluted plot at points. But I love MaXXXine so much, and she's such a badass in this film especially, so it's hard not to enjoy the ride, but it just wasn't as focused as I hoped, or really has much point to it, which is totally fine. Popcorn horror has a place, and this film just feels like it's made for fans who really want to see that style replicated instead of anything new or anything with a greater message, which I know there's a lot of people out there who enjoy that. I loved the music, the soundtracks. Obviously, I talked about the stylization. It's just all beautiful. The gore is spectacular when it's shown. But in terms of the visuals, one thing I was surprised by is the amount of product placement in this film. It is everywhere. And I don't know if that's kind of a cheesy tongue-in-cheek moment to the 80s and 90s for how much product placement is in movies, but they really replicated every facet, if you know what I mean. Overall, I think that this film was very different to the others, which is expected, but I felt because we waited for so long, I was expecting something grand and epic, and it felt like although there are some great surprises in this film, some moments I definitely chuckled out loud, being a weird horror nerd. It didn't cement it as being such a classic or so iconic as Pearl is or X is. I am excited to see if there is more left in this franchise and maybe we can pivot to another subgenre that is beloved by horror fans, but this one just wasn't my favorite. Although I can't help but be so in awe of someone like Ty West who constantly dedicates himself to different stylizations and goes straight bang on with them. He does not waver and he'll get right in the zone of that. So I do appreciate that. It just so happens that if you don't love the stylization he's going for, it may not click with you the same. Overall, I'm gonna give MaXXXine a 7 out of 10. I still really enjoyed it. It just wasn't as horror as I hoped. For originality, I'd give it a 4. I feel like it's a very inspired by film. And for scare, I'd probably give, you know what? It's probably a 7 for some of the gore and how intense it is, but it is not scary. I think it's probably like a 4 or a 3 in scare. I didn't find it scary at all, but the gore is intense. So where does that leave us with this number, I guess? Gore and scare are separate in this one. Okay, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Again, make sure you re-watch X before seeing MaXXXine to get the maximum out of this film. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.